Welcome back, Krystal Ball. It's been so long.
Way too long. It's great to be back, Katie. Great to see you.
Thanks, you too. Let's just start off talking about this great cave that we've seen from the Democrats. How would you describe what just happened?
In a word, pathetic. First of all, Democrats have a democracy problem because they can't even listen to their own voters who not only showed up in droves for the No Kings protests, but then overwhelmingly swept every electoral contest you could possibly imagine to send a message. They fucking hate Donald Trump. They, are backing Democrat. They want them to fight. They want them to stand tough. And so after you have this massive electoral victory, and Trump and the Republicans reporting is coming out about how much pressure they feel and how bad this is for them politically. That's the moment that you cave and you get literally nothing. It's genuinely perplexing. And, the truth of the matter is that they had people in the party who just didn't want to fight at all, were looking for any and every excuse to cave from the jump. And so I think when you had the Supreme Court snap decision, when you had the airline lobbyists who were calling them, who all of them receive funding from, I think David Sirota was doing the reporting on that. And then you also had the Trump threat of nuking the filibuster. That's when I think it was all right, we're just gonna throw in the towel. And, Schumer trying to absolve himself of this is utterly ridiculous. This didn't happen without leadership say so. But I want to hold on the filibuster part because I think this is something, that you've also looked at and talked about as well. Corporate Dems love a sort of parliamentary roadblock to give them excuse for why they can't ever deliver. So they like to pretend oh, we would love to do all these great things, but the Republicans have too many seats, but the filibuster, but the parliamentarian. And so when Trump was okay, we're going to nuke the filibuster, that was sort of existential for them. Even though for me, I'm good, do it. Go ahead and nuke the filibuster. Then you guys, you'll have more power. Not that Republicans in Congress have claimed any power whatsoever from Donald Trump. Democrats, when they get in, they won't have the same excuse. But that was to them an existential threat to their excuse-making ability. So to me, that was the final straw for them to just throw in the towel completely.
Right. And of course, that's something that's not very sexy to talk about. And people don't really bring that up.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know that unless you're really wonky and following it, right? So that hasn't really entered the discourse.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was the same on the Republican side. Republicans have been in Congress of just the most embarrassing people on the planet. They, they don't want to claim any power. They want to outsource all of their decision making to Donald Trump. They don't want to be on the record on anything. They don't want to assert authority on anything. They just want to be able to go on a podcast and that's about it. So they are humiliating in this regard as well, which is why they didn't immediately get rid of the filibuster themselves. But yeah, we've seen when Democrats are quote unquote in power, how they come up with every possible excuse to avoid actually delivering for people. And one of the key tools in that arsenal is the filibuster. And if Republicans nuked it, I think Democrats would be pretty embarrassed to put it back into place. So that's why they, and like I said, they wanted to cave from the beginning. But to do it right after you've had this electoral victory and for absolutely nothing, the base is so furious at these people in a way that is truly different from what we've seen before in the modern Democratic Party era.
Yeah, it really is stunning. And, shockingly, I even see some progressives, not many, but some defending the cave and saying it's good for people who are suffering. Let's take a look at John Fetterman making that case. Now, of course, to me, the fact that John Fetterman makes that case makes it immediately disqualifiable.
It's a red flag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm going to show you this just so you can respond to this. And anyone who believes, again, who the hell is going to believe Fetterman? But anyone who believes this kind of framing.
How relieved are you that the government's going to be open?
So relieved. I think my party crossed a line of now putting 42 million Americans with their SNAP benefits and making flying less safe and that kinds of chaos and not paying our military. That was a red line for me that I can't cross as a Democrat. And I think that's been described, country over the party. And now that I think that's been the truth throughout it, and it's only wrong to shut our government down, and I'm relieved. But the people now that are going to get paid and fed, and millions of Americans, they're going to be flying now, that's going to be made more safe and restored.
Okay, so let's pretend this was someone other than John Fetterman who was saying this, someone who people would actually have reason to take seriously. What is your response to this?
My first response is, are you okay? Because it sounds like your brain is broken. So with John Fetterman, we know his brain is in fact broken. Yeah. And you can see the brain damage in every sentence of that response right there. I mean, first of all, listen, if Republicans wanted to keep the government open, they knew they needed 60 votes. They knew they needed to work with the Democrats. Are they really so committed to raising healthcare premiums an astronomical amount on millions and millions of Americans that they want to shut down the government? The answer is apparently yes. So that's number one. Number two, on the SNAP benefits, Republicans were actually legally obligated to continue to pay out those benefits. The only person who was denying, or the only group that was denying any Americans SNAP benefits, were Republicans and Trump. So to put that one in particular at the feet of Democrats is insane. Mike Johnson was approached with, hey, how about we pass a bill just to make sure that the troops get paid, which has been done in previous shutdowns? He said absolutely not. So the blame for the pain goes directly to the Republicans. And you don't have to take my word for it. Like, that is the way the American people were assessing this shutdown as well, which is part of why they handed such an overwhelming victory to Democrats, in particular in the state of Virginia, which has been hit hardest by the shutdown, where you had the most federal government workers, the most pain, the most people facing these furloughs and this layoffs. But, I have to say, like, for these 8 Democrats, if you were going to cave from the beginning, you're right. You should have just done it from the beginning, because you did. You did mess with people's lives, and now you got absolutely nothing for it. And the 20 million people are going to see their healthcare premiums skyrocket, and you're going to have people die literal unnecessary deaths because they can no longer afford healthcare. So you're right. Now you did it all for absolutely nothing. And so it is thoroughly enraging. And my only hope for a silver lining out of this is that it further fuels the flames of the enraged liberal base, which is ready to vote for the Abdul al-Sayeds and the Shoikat Chakrabartis and the Graham Plattners of the world, and get rid of the Schumers, get rid of the Hakeem Jeffries, and take the party in a completely different direction. I think they are more ready for that than they have literally ever been.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is the silver lining, right? As you said. I mean, I'm not usually an accelerationist, and this isn't really accelerationism. It's like a mini blip of accelerationism, perhaps.
It's just an undeniable demonstration of their failure. And I'm sure you probably saw, Katie, I saw some tweets that were like, oh, now I understand why the left hates us so much. I understand why people vote for third parties, because, Richard Hanania, who was like this white supremacist, and now he's still like eugenics curious, but whatever, he calls himself a Democrat now. He's like, I've been a Democrat for 5 minutes. Do they always cave like this? This is demoralizing. And it's like, yes, they do. This is the way that they operate. They do not understand the moment. They do not understand the time that they're living in. They do not understand or care what their own voters want, let alone how to deliver for the American people.
Right. Or maybe they do understand, but they're just so beholden to their donors. Right. I mean, that's the scary thing. But you're saying basically, and a lot of people are saying this, like, maybe you don't understand to such an extent that you're willing to lose elections over it. I mean, like, even for your own immediate self-interest. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the fact that all 8 who voted for the deal are either retiring or they're not up this election cycle tells you that they do actually know something. They do actually understand what political poison this is going to be. And then people like John Ossoff, who's considered the most vulnerable Democrat in the Senate, he voted against it. All of these Democratic Senate candidates who are running across the country, from, the more moderate, like, establishment ones to the, more outsider ones, they're all saying this deal was terrible. So they understand at least the politics of it, even if they are, don't have any sort of visceral connection to the way that people's lives are impacted.